thank you for joining us. This is a great morning, and it is the Thursday edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Welcome to it, and I'm your host, Nelson Zulu, but I'm not alone as yet. I'm joined by Patrick Soko, who will be joining in a little bit later, and at a certain juncture, also we'll shift into our main interview where we'll have a talk and indeed discuss a lot of issues pertaining to the country's happenings. But right about now, let's go directly into our health corner and see what Dr. Nakubiana Mufwaya has for us.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mufwaya. So this week we have been talking about rickets, and it's a rare condition that affects children from as low as 3 months all the way up to adolescent age. And we say that rickets is a condition where there is softening and weakening of the bones, and this is due to deficiency in calcium. So in vitamin D, sorry. So vitamin D deficiency is what causes rickets. And so our bodies need vitamin D to be able to absorb calcium and phosphate from our intestines. And if there isn't enough vitamin D, then our bodies will not be able to absorb that calcium, and so leading to a softening of the bones, because our bones are made up of calcium. So what are some of the causes? We talked about the causes of rickets, and we say that it's because of a lack of vitamin D, and this can come as a result of the child not being exposed to the sun, and also not having or eating foods that are high in vitamin D. And we also say that there are some genetic conditions that a child can inherit that can predispose them to having rickets. And if there are any malabsorption conditions where the body is not able to absorb nutrients very well, such as inflammatory bowel disease, then they can also develop rickets. So we also talked about some of the symptoms of rickets, and we say that a child who has rickets will have bone deformities, and they will also have delayed growth. And so you'll be able to see the bone deformities, and when you compare that child to other children of the same age, you would find that they have a delayed growth, and they will not be growing at the same rate as the other children. Then they might also have muscle weakness, and they might also have seizures, and these can happen in some children. And then we also talked about the diagnosis and treatment. We say that it can be diagnosed through the hospital. There are some tests that can be done to be able to check how the body is functioning and how the body is absorbing calcium. Then we can also treat rickets, and we give vitamin D to patients who have vitamin D deficiency and who don't have enough vitamin D. So today we'll talk about some of the complications and some of the preventive measures. I'm sure from the conversation or from the talks that we've been having here, you are able to pick what are some of the complications and what are some of the preventive measures. So the complications include delayed growth. If the child is having this condition called rickets, they will have delayed growth, and so they will not grow at the same rate. They would have stunted growth. Most of the times they are usually short. They are short in stature because of the delayed growth, and the bones are not growing properly. Then the other complication is that they might have seizures, and so they might develop seizures because of not having enough calcium in the body. Then what are some of the preventive measures? How can you prevent your child from getting rickets? Before I talk about the preventive measures, the other complication is the bone deformities. They might have bone deformities and also dental deformities where the child is not having a good dental formula because of not having enough calcium that can help the teeth to grow, and the bones also will be deformed because of not having enough calcium. So how can you prevent rickets at home? You need to be able to expose your child to the sun. That's number one. Make sure your child is receiving enough sun exposure every day. At least 20 minutes a day is good enough sun exposure for the child to be able to synthesize or make vitamin D, because that's the only way that our bodies can make vitamin D. Then the other thing is that you need to be able to give a child foods that are high in vitamin D. And these foods include fish, milk, and eggs. These are high in vitamin D. Then there are other foods as well that we usually buy from the stores that are fortified. So these are fortified foods. They are made with extra vitamin D in them. And so these are foods like cereals. There are certain cereals that have vitamin D, and there are certain breads as well. They make some breads that are fortified with vitamin D, and also some juices, especially orange juices that are fortified with vitamin D. And so you can also check to see if the cereals that you're giving your child, has vitamin D, because it's important that your child gets vitamin D. So if a child is found to lack vitamin D, especially if they are born from a mother who has already this deficiency, then the child can be given supplements of vitamin D through the hospital, of course, and they can be given some medications that have vitamin D to be able to supplement the vitamin D. So this is how you can prevent rickets. These are some of the ways that you can use to prevent rickets: sun exposure and also diet. Something that we can all do simply in our homes and prevent ourselves or our children from getting rickets. So I do hope you have learned something today. I do hope you learned about rickets this week. And if you haven't been able to watch some of the other days that we were talking about rickets, then you can check out my YouTube channel to see what we talked about from Monday. And the YouTube channel is Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya, and you'll be able to find these videos and even so many other videos that we have been sharing here on The Breakfast Show. And you can learn and also share with your friends as well, and let them subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Make sure you stay healthy and prevent yourself from getting diseases.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nakubiana Mufwaya, just getting us through into the complications and prevention of rickets, popularly known as matewe here in Zambia. And I don't know how prevalent these cases are, but one thing for sure is they start at a younger age, right, Mr. Soko?
Indeed, when a child is just young, you are able to identify if they have that condition.
Yes, yes. But how is your morning this Thursday? Are
Well,
you still keeping it positive?
Yes, we keep it positive Thursday, and we are doing just that here on the Camnet Breakfast Show. I was trying to see what sort of lines of motivation I would give our viewers today. So I delayed a bit. I said, Nelson, let me find you as I get the best lines. And the lines that I have are just the same as yesterday. We are talking about being positive. And it means that in whatever we do, only a positive mind will get us out of the deep waters. So let's just make sure that we remain optimistic, positive in everything that we do. Remember that negative thoughts do wear us down. So let's make sure that we fight that not allow us to wear us down. So that's the message we have today. We are keeping it positive. But for now, let's see if the kwacha is going to depress us. It won't depress us. We'll remain optimistic and positive.
Let's see if the kwacha really also has got some positive mindset that is coming out in as far as Thursday is concerned.
Not this week though, I know.
All right, there you have it. The United States dollar is buying at 24 kwacha, selling at 29 ingwe. Buying at 24 kwacha rather, at 29 ingwe, and selling at 24 kwacha, 77 ingwe. The euro is buying at 26 kwacha, 23 ngwe, and selling at 26 kwacha, 74 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 30 kwacha, 45 ngwe, and selling at 31 kwacha, 05 ngwe. And the South African Rand is buying at 1 kwacha, 27 ngwe, selling at 1 kwacha, 30 ngwe. And this is according to the update at 7:18. Remember that these exchange rates, they vary from bank to bank, and one interesting factor is the US dollar there. Yesterday we were somewhere at 24 kwacha 16 ngwe, and we've seen today there's a bit of an increase. I would say that's about 17 ngwe that has been added. Yeah.
So yeah, there you have it. So there, they say numbers do not lie, and if you look at that figure, it shows that it's on an increasing trajectory. So it's not a good sign, and it's going towards a 25 kwacha. So you need 25 kwachas for you to have a single dollar. That's what it means. So, and that is not good for us. But like I said in our preamble, not even the kwacha will outweigh our positive energy. So we are going to remain positive, Nelson, and optimistic that things will get better.
Yeah, I think hopes continue to be part of us, and it's not something that we can run away from. And as such, we just need to be positive and ensure that we hope for the best, because they say yesterday is gone, but we don't know what tomorrow holds.
Indeed, we don't know what tomorrow will come with. But talking about yesterday, we are aware of what yesterday came with. Among the positive interventions was the passing of the access to information bill to the third reading, meaning that the bill has progressed, just waiting presidential assent. So if the president signs, then all is set. We have the access to information law in the country. However, this law is not watertight. We are privy to the fact that institutions like the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections and other non-governmental organizations did allude to the fact that there are some clauses that are not explicit in terms of how this law should make sure that it guarantees access to information. So there are also other parliamentarians during the debate who did also point out some of the loopholes in this law. So there are some exemptions in terms of access to information. So, but now how excessive is access to information is another. But for me, I feel it's a step in the right direction, regardless of the limitations that the law may have. What will happen is that overall, it may be easier to make some amendments in the future, but it's a step in the right direction. So we remain hopeful and optimistic, but it will may create a little bit of difference, especially in as far as we conduct our work as journalists, as well as how citizens may be able to access information in general. So we remain optimistic that this law will equally be able to achieve part of its objective. I know it may not achieve comprehensively its entire objective in terms of facilitating access to information in the country. So now, this is a time when we get to jump into another segment where we get to know some of the stories that are making the headlines. And this is the segment we call Zoom in the Headlines. And on Zoom in the Headlines, we have quite a number of interesting stories where we want you, our dear viewers, to be able to comment and give us your contributions to the story. And today we have a guest on the program who's going to help us discuss current affairs and various issues affecting the country, and would want you to also give us your perspective or ask our guests some questions that may be pertinent to you. And also this morning we have to also remind you that you can still watch us on Facebook page, on our Facebook page, as well as YouTube channel. So what you do is also just look out for Camnet TV Zambia, and then you'll be there and you'll find us. Just type Camnet TV. Camnet TV is all over social media. So just go to Camnet TV, like the page and share it, and also invite others to like the page, so that we grow together as a movement of development together with you, our dear viewers. And let me also say hi to Majila from the sweetest town of Mazabuka, and he does not miss this program, and we do value his contribution to the program. And those of you also watching us via social media, leave us a message and we'll be glad to hear from you. Nelson Zulu.
Yes, let's get to look at those interesting stories that were making headlines. But I was almost making a submission when it came to the Access Information Bill. You know, this is something that has been there for some time. Imagine I was born, I found this debate ongoing, and now I'm even part of the debate itself. So those are some of the interesting factors.
Yeah.
And,
so the bill is older than you.
You can imagine. You can imagine. It's been there for over 2 decades.
And this is when it wants to graduate into a law.
It wants to graduate into Act number 14, rather. So I also took interest into looking at the bill, and indeed, there are a bit of contentious issues here and there. When you look at maybe Section 2, Section 37, all those maybe issues that would be looked at.
What is contained in Section 32? Okay.
When you look at Section 2, I think there's a bit of controversy in terms of, if you are someone who's reported about a certain issue and you want access to that information, you are not protected as a whistleblower. There's no definition of how you are going to be protected. You see, so meaning that maybe someone may just come for you and then say, how did you find out this information? There's also an aspect of, I think, should be Section. If you are not satisfied with the request that you made, you are required to appeal. But in terms of the period when your appeal can be heard, it's not explained. Meaning that maybe your appeal might take even a year. So that's being heard on a particular subject. Yes.
I know we have the law. We may also have the policy that may also aid that, and also statutory instruments, but we can only assume for now.
All right. I know developments have been taking on when it comes to the issue of the curriculum, so let's get to look at a story where the National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACASE, is worried that despite the new school curriculum being progressive, it has not been budgeted for in the 2024 national budget. Organization Executive Director Dr. Aaron Chansa notes that the Ministry of Education will not have the capacity to orient teachers and engage citizens in 2024 before the implementation of the new curriculum in January 2025.
We want to urge all Zambians across the country to support the new curriculum being developed by the Ministry of Education. This is because this document is very progressive. It is emphasizing issues to do with technology, issues to do with entrepreneurship, and also mining. And these are the issues that we've always wanted to be in our education system. We are also happy that the ministry has been very, very inclusive. The process has been consultative. And this is the reason why we are producing one of the best curricula in the continent. On the continent, this new document is emphasizing also the issues of early childhood education. There are also very, very critical changes that are going to fundamentally change the face of education in Zambia. issues to do with change of language of instruction in early grades. We feel that as stakeholders, we need to get back to English as the medium of instruction. The period for primary education has been reduced from 7 to 6 years. Obviously, the issues of advanced level education have come in. We want to improve the quality of intakes into universities, and this is very, very important. But as we support this process, we are not happy that government has not allocated some funding to this process. When we check the Yellow Book for 2024, we can't see any funding to curriculum development.
That is the National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACASE, making their submissions when it comes to the curriculum for 2025 that's going to be implemented. I know there are a lot of concerns that have been given, but I don't know, from your honest opinion, maybe you are among the citizens that were part of the Form 6, Form 1,
Not at all.
Form 4. Maybe you might have a better understanding to school some of us.
Not at all. But however, the system that is coming is a two-tier system that is making sure that it takes into account the academic arrangement as well as the practical aspects. So those sometimes you may not be able to make it academically, but school would have helped you gain the necessary skills that you need to survive. So this kind of curriculum does not promote destitution. It actually promotes excellency in terms of life skills. So you'll be able to say, okay, I'm good with GMD, or I'm good with carpentry, I'm good with cooking. I'm going to head straight to work with for this big hotel in the catering sector, in the tourism sector. So there are those opportunities that are there, and for me, really, I think that speaks volume pertaining to how these curriculum issues may be.
Well, that is also an interesting aspect of it. So meaning that it will also provide maybe an opportunity to someone who's got a certain interest in something. So if you're interested in carpentry, you go for carpentry. Yeah. So
it will promote practicals, especially among learners, and to promote you as especially parents to work hard and make sure that they support their children, because examinations will be coming. It should be in Form 6, is it? Yes. So you have to make sure that your children are up to speed. So in a sense, it's a curriculum that's not for the lazy. If you are lazy, count yourself out. In fact, school should. In fact, laziness is even spoken against in the Bible. So, if anything, we want to create hard workers and not lazy people. You can imagine a nation of lazy people. How do you even develop in the first place? Yeah, let's proceed and look at some of the stories as well. And some of the stories we're looking at this morning comprise of opposition New Congress Party leader Peter Chanda advising the government to only remove visa restrictions on countries that are willing to reciprocate such a gesture. Mr. Chanda says this will not only favor the tourism sector, but also trade. We're also looking at another story coming all the way from Mungu, where Western Province Permanent Secretary Simomo Akapelwa says Luanginga and Silinda bridges will boost the growth of the tourism and agriculture sectors in the region once completed. He was speaking when he toured the bridges on Tuesday, and he did advise that the bridges have reached an advanced stage. Let's get to look at those stories.
Africa is a global village, and we belong to the global village. But in as much as we look at that, we need to also look at the immigration system that we have. Is another source of revenue for any given country. Let's take, for instance, one country in the Scandinavian country, in the Netherlands area or in whatever. They survive solely on immigration. The immigration is the highest earner because of the many people that go into that country for tourism and other issues. So whilst I appreciate the fact that we need to lessen the visa interaction to allow commerce and trade, I want to state that we cannot allow the immigration departments to crumble and continue to process visas for free and wait for government to give them aid. In that, we will create inefficiency in the way we are supposed. It is better we look at minimal fees that are required. So for me, I don't subscribe to the total visa-free environment, because without visa processes and all those things, I think a lot of these other things are whatever. At least one for the first entry, you can be able to allow, like they've done in India. I subscribe to that, but I want to state that we can't lend our immigration department to totally become a government agency that becomes a grant aid institution. It must be an institution that should be able to be part of the resource and region and revenue generation of the country. So I don't even subscribe. I don't think it was right for the government to write off visas from the countries like China and these others and all those countries. The countries that have not reciprocated, we can only give the same incentive to countries that have reciprocated.
The completion of the two bridges on the Rwanginga and Slanda rivers will be a game changer and an economic booster to tourism and the agriculture sector in the region. Rwanginga Bridge connects Kalabo and Lua constraints, which is the home of his second world beast migration, and has for many years remained inaccessible due to lack of crossing points. The community members from the two constituencies are so far pleased with what government is doing.
Unauzwa kwa liwa. Ni aluza ma yabusiwa utofita kwa mikolo bakwalile. Fachwa solita ma ela kama ulatela. Ni haufita fabuse fambusi uwe mbayo na ekele izuwa kufita fabuse. Mikolo bakwalile. Mutu wako na kushwela fabuse. Twe faibo na lile bridge mane luitumezi masuvazo ile pili wava itisizi.
Luitumezi kwa bridge eva lupangezi. Mine lunyanda kakusila kamikolo kono fava lupangezi bridge solita mane mautu. Kwa fya lutala lwasila nge lukulu ile akuna kutata.
Western Province Permanent Secretary Momo Akapelwa in the company of Road Development Agency Western Province Regional Manager Engineer Paul Habasimbi is in the area to appreciate the progress of the works at Slanda Bridge.
Liwa has the second biggest herd of wildebeests in the world, second only to the Serengeti National Park. It's a big spectacle. So like people go to Serengeti to watch the wildebeest migration, people will also come here to watch the wildebeest migration. So eventually, like I'm saying, this is a road, it's not a road to nowhere. Eventually this road will actually get into the main Liwa Park itself without causing environmental degradation.
When these works are done, we are going to open up to traffic. If you look at the embankment that has been constructed, which is for the 1.8 kilometer stretch, this embankment is still in the process of settlement. In terms of the cost of this project, first and foremost, I must mention that this project is part and parcel of the rehabilitation of the Monguri Murunga and the Moyo Road to bituminous standard. We had to vary that contract to the tune of about $4 million to accommodate the works that we are doing here in Kalabo.
The contractor of the project is confident to complete the works by May 2024.
By the end of this year, and we will do the connecting road, the surfacing by the before 2024 May. So I think there will be a nice way to Liwa National Park next year.
For Camnet News, Mseoka reporting in Kalabo, Western Province.
Amidst concerns of a shrinking democratic space in the country, alleged United Party for National Development UPND supporters harassed opposition economic freedom fighters leader Kasonde Mwenda in Kitwe area this week. This has concerned stakeholders, among them political players.
We expected that this would be a thing of the past, but as we speak today, Kadarism is rampant It is all over. We in the opposition are being abused. We are being denied an opportunity to assemble and interact with the people. And sometimes even before you receive police officers to try and block you, you are met with harsh situations where cadres take charge and threaten you. Sometimes you are beaten.
Meanwhile, political scientist Joseph Serisho has also chipped in to advise political leaders to tame their supporters and avoid politics of intimidating and harassing opponents, as it is against the Zambian constitution.
And therefore, any person, Zambian, that has a local understanding of the constitution can sue based on this, because it's written in the constitution. And I want to emphasize on this. This is Article 60, subsection 2 and 3 of the Zambian constitution, which says, no party shall intimidate its members, supporters, or any other persons or opponents. So if the current party intimidates the other opponents, it's a violation of the constitution. If those in opposition intimidate those that are in the government or the party in power, it's a violation of the constitution. So the Zambians should rise and protect these rights that we have enshrined in the Zambian constitution as amended in 2016.
On Monday, December 11th, 2023, alleged United Party for National Development (UPND) cadres harassed EFF leader Kasonde Mwenda and his entourage for what, according to the video, they say insulting President Hakainde Hichilema. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Hundreds of villagers in Muzembela village in Njolwe area of Chongwe district risk being left in destitution, as the entire village is sitting on 4 title deeds, including the village headman's house. This came to light Wednesday when Chongwe Member of Parliament Sylvia Masebo and Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Elijah Muchima, in company of the district council leadership, toured the area for an engagement meeting with the affected residents. Village headman Muzembela says the land grab commenced in 2012, and since then most villagers have lost, including their fields. Representing senior chieftains in Komesha Mukamambo II, Princess Chorwe Komesha disclosed that the entire village has been consumed by land titles.
To say, you won't even hit the quarry, the God-given inheritance, God-given wealth. Somebody's claiming to take it away from the people and become one person's property. So we are saying, Honorable Minister, I know that's not your area of command, but what we're saying is something that you can speak to your counterpart.
Area Member of Parliament Sylvia Masebo laments that land management in the area has been chaotic in recent years, calling on government through the Minister of Lands to investigate the matter. Ms. Masebo, who is also Minister of Health, says despite the documents being legal, government should check the procedure of awarding, as they have no blessing of the local leadership.
As the custodian of land on behalf of the President, the Commissioner and the Minister, which they study problem ya kuchongwe kuno, kuli unique kuno. And it's not an easy arrangement. Because tichoka kuboma, kumaboma uku, kwa mbeni tupenze kuyuzinga ndalama bantu. Gati wapeza pali bantu, bazaba uza wa Minister balanzu, kwa Commissioner kamba tawe, pali bantu. And the bomb yazoona singa pase title deed is what pali bantu.
In responding to the concerns, Minister of Lands Dr. Muchima says all titles which did not take into account of local settlements will be cancelled to ensure that pending displacements are avoided.
We want to emphasize there are rules and regulations. Any fraudulent issuance of title deed will be cancelled. In that, some people have been getting title deed without regard to settlements. Before a title deed is given, we have to carry out an inspection to see if there are settlement or not. If there are settlement, that title deed is not supposed to be issued.
With this case not limited to this area, it can only be hoped that such efforts can be replicated across the country to curtail displacements of local people that have been witnessed. For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Chongwe District, Lusaka.
Welcome back. Well, thank you for still staying with us on the Camnet Breakfast Show. And we were looking at some of the stories that were making the headlines here on Camnet TV. And we did see the previous story pertaining to land governance. And hoping that they will resolve those land matters. However, we did promise you that we are going to have an interview. And our guest has just joined us. And today we are having Christopher Kangombe, who is a Kamfinsa constituency member of parliament. Welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning. A pleasure to be here this morning and obviously have an opportunity to interact with the viewers.
Thank you. We are happy that you honored our invitation.
Thank you.
Well, our dear viewers, you too, later on, you will be given an opportunity to join the conversation in case you want to ask our guest any question of your choice. But right about now, we are looking at governance matters pertaining to current affairs. And to just get started, first of all, sir, we want you to bring us up to speed. First of all, we cannot start without understanding how you have been faring in your constituency. And we've hosted a lot of members of parliament, and we've given an opportunity for them to outline for us what is happening in their various constituencies. And first of all, is the CDF really making sense? Because some of your colleagues we've hosted, especially from the opposition, say it is not working as it should, and we just also want to get it from the people of Kamfinsa.
Well, first of all, the Constituency Development Fund is not a new fund. Mm-hmm. It's not like suddenly we have Constituency Development Fund. I have been privileged to have worked, first of all, as a councillor, later on as mayor of the city of Kitwe, and throughout my journey, Constituency Development Fund at a very lower level has been part of the resources that we've been using to try and bridge the gap in terms of infrastructure that is available for our people. Mm-hmm. Except that I have a problem with what I may call exaggeration of dependence, where suddenly central government would want everything done under the Constituency Development Fund. I'll give you a very practical example so that I'm able to answer your question correctly. Mm-hmm. There's a place in my constituency called Zamtan. Mm-hmm. If you're entering Kitwe, it's the first township on your right. So in Zamtan, the time I was serving as mayor of the city of Kitwe, we managed to lobby central government to provide a ring road, the first ring road in the township. It enters this side, comes out the other side, so that the area opens up. Now, if I were to calculate where I'm seated, how much it cost us to do a third road, I think that compared to the Constituency Development Fund, CDF is a drop in the ocean. So as we discuss CDF, we may need to discuss CDF in the context of what can you do with CDF? Because you can't do CDF on big capital projects. You can build a classroom block. You can sink 2-3 boreholes. You can add a maternity wing to a medical facility. It ends there. You can't do the big things that ideally would be described as big capital projects. So for me, the conversation around CDF should be threefold. One, the fact that this fund was established in 1996 to support the work of members of parliament. Mm-hmm. Number two, the fact that the Constituency Development Fund, given the quantum of resources, cannot do the big things that should actually transform communities long term. This can only support things that central government cannot do. It can support things that at a local level, as leaders, we should be able to say, instead of a health facility, we're going to grade a road. Mm-hmm. Like last weekend, we were grading roads in Kamfinsa constituency. We are using CDF, but we can only grade. I mean, people would want a better road than grading. So to simply answer your question, CDF for me, as Christopher Kangombe, having worked as councillor, mayor, and now member of parliament,
and also a local government association.
Yes, I really think that it serves its intended purpose, which is to try and do things which cannot wait for central government funding. But the scale is not big enough, and unfortunately, everyone in the community is saying, you have CDF, so since you have CDF, do this. I mean, you can't do the big things. Like in Kamfinsa, we have a challenge of water. We can't resolve the water problems because to repair all the old pipes, provide a new water tank for the residential area. Unfortunately, CDF cannot measure up to the quantum required.
And who is getting the credit? We have seen that the commissioning are attracting quite a number of delegation. And so is it that the central government is just spearheading the CDF and so that it is the main thing, even come 2026?
Well, I don't know who wants to get credit. For me, for instance, if I know that there's a footbridge that has been built in Ndeke village or any other area, I don't mind the area councillor going there telling people, no, we've initiated this project working with the CDF committee, because you see, we might all be obsessed with being seen to be the one commissioning, but that is besides the point. The benchmark for good leadership is actually good leadership. Saying until I come, I know of colleagues who've insisted that a grader can't start ripping a road until they close parliament, and then they go and announce that now the grader is here, now let's start grading. Others are so obsessed. I may call an obsession because maybe the idea is to be seen to be working. But for me, if I'm in Lusaka debating the national budget, I don't mind the council instructing the contractor to start works, because I know at some stage, every Friday I'm in the constituency, every weekend I'm in the constituency, I'll still be able to visit one church or two churches and announce that that project we indicated will be done. Finally, it has taken off. So for me, I think that people should not fight. I know central government, for instance, would not want, I'm an opposition member of parliament. Desks have been delivered in my constituency without me being aware. All I hear is, we've received the desks. Then I'm seated in parliament, I'm like, oh, which desks? I know those desks from CDF. But why didn't the council inform me so that when the handover is taking place, I'm aware? I don't need to physically be there. All I'm saying is that decency in governance demands that all the stakeholders are aware. This project has started. It's the MP and the councillor working with the Ward Development Committee that suggested this project. At least decency should demand that whether I'm an opposition MP, at least I should be made aware of the project.
Coming to the political side of things, Mr. Kangombe,
yes.
In the country, opposition political party leaders have been complaining that there's a shrinking civic space, and that also those who are in government are saying that it's just the enforcement of the rule of law. First of all, what would be your overall perspective pertaining to the political environment? How would you describe it?
Well, I'll start by my earlier phrase. The benchmark for good governance or good leadership is good leadership. You don't compare yourselves with bad practices. You don't compare yourselves with efforts that will undermine the promotion of democracy. So if you are in government, if I'm a member of parliament, I should ask myself, what is the benchmark for good leadership? 2.5 years, we're now approaching 2.5 years. No political party has written to the police notifying them of holding a public rally has been granted that request. 2.5 years. And I'm not talking about there's a by-election in Chifunabuli, then suddenly everyone has to distribute their flyers. That's not a political rally, because in that case, there's a by-election and everyone is being allowed because it's a by-election. Let's assume today, one political party was to inform the police that we want to hold a public rally in Zingalume or Changanamai in Kitwe. The government will not allow, the police will not allow. And the reason is that our colleagues who are in government, unfortunately, due to the fear that political parties from the opposition will use that platform to highlight the challenges. You know, sometimes you don't need to have a public rally. Now there's social media. Now I can speak here and say what I want. But at the end of the day, you want to galvanize the masses. You want the masses to be aware. There are those who may not have picked the message from a social media platform. So in terms of my assessment, I think that there's a growing fear by the current regime not to allow political parties from the opposition to interact with the public, to interact with the community. Only my former university mate, Kasonda Mwenda, we were together at CBU some time back. When I left as president for the Students' Union, I think he took over 2 years later as president. He's now president for a political party. I noticed very unfortunate occurrences in Kitwe where he could not proceed to interact with the public through a press briefing. I think that those are the bad indicators. Are those good practices? Are those good governance practices? Does that amount to the benchmark of good leadership? In my view, those are things that the current government, unfortunately, is not doing well in that area, and they need to quickly allow Zambians to exercise their rights in terms of democracy.
But others have argued that currently there are no tools that can be used to measure if the country's democratic or civic space is shrinking.
Well, politics and promotion of democracy is basically, this is a social science. So it's not like engineering, where you want to know how much volume of water is running through a pipe. You bring a meter, then the meter will tell you so much meter cubics have passed. This is a social science, and the social science, you measure it by certain indicators. So you ask yourself, indicator number one, if today a press briefing is going to be held by an opposition political party, will the police disrupt that press briefing or not? The answer is the police will disrupt. Is that a good indicator? No. So you tick. So you must come up with a list of things that demonstrate benchmarks for good governance. In my view, I think that the people that manage the enforcement of certain pieces of legislation need to ask themselves, are we promoting democracy by denying an opposition political party to meet its members, or to have a press briefing, or to go to Zingalume, or to go to any other particular area? The answer is no, you're not promoting democracy. So you don't need a scientific tool. Yes, it's a political science, but you don't need an electronic gadget to be able to say, let's measure if democracy is being promoted. I think it's the indicators. I think it's what people have been able to see. And you see, you don't need Christopher Kangombe to come on this platform to come and explain, because people are able to see, and it's quite unfortunate.
We've seen that the former ruling party, arguably, Zambia's largest opposition political party,
yeah.
Second
58
to only the UPND.
Yes.
There's been a lot of confusion, and people have been raising concern that this is bad for democracy, and that especially on the provision of checks and balances. Now, and there's been suspicion that the government is sponsoring confusion, and those we've spoken to, including the chief government spokesperson,
yes,
Honorable Cornelius Mwetwa, has distanced the government from such intentions. But I want to get your perspective pertaining to this confusion. Overall, how is this undermining the provision of credible checks and balances in the country? Because Zambians equally expect the PF to be more organized and be able to provide checks and balances.
Well, first of all, we provide checks and balances through media engagements. You check on what government is doing, you advise government. That is one way of providing checks and balances without even being in parliament. Even where I'm seated today, I'm able to say the agreement between the Zambian government and Vedanta Resources is not a good deal because of the following reasons. Those are checks and balances. The dual carriageway from Lusaka to Ndola is not a private-public partnership project because government is providing the resources, so it's not a PPP. By pointing out those things, I am providing checks and balances. Anyone from the opposition is providing checks and balances. But then there's something very unique about the Patriotic Front. We initially had 60 members of parliament, 60 MPs. We were all petitioned, all the 60 of us. Two by-elections took place after the petitions because 2 seats were nullified. Our candidates in those 2 constituencies were not allowed to contest that by-election. The courts, by now, I'm sure you are aware, you are journalists, by now the courts have determined that actually Honorable Joseph Malanji was eligible. The courts have determined that Honorable Bowman Lusambo was actually eligible. In essence, state institutions were used to deny 2 Zambian citizens, 2 individuals who were eligible to contest that election. Do you call that promoting democracy? Do you call that shrinking or expanding democratic space? The answer is democratic space is shrinking. Institutions of government, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, Zambia Police, state organs were used to deny 2 members of parliament to recontest their seats. Now, I've used that as a starting point very quickly. you've asked me about what is happening in the Patriotic Front. First of all, every political party has a constitution. I'm not talking about the Republican Constitution. I'm talking about the UPND Constitution, the PF Constitution, Citizens First Constitution. The PF in the Constitution prescribes how you elect a president. So I'm a member of the National Council, which should be part of the voters to elect the president of PF. The structures of the Patriotic Front, the district chairman for Kabwe, the district chairman for Chifunabuli, our provincial chairman for Southern Province, Honorable Lawrence Evans, those are the delegates, those are individuals who should be called to one central place through a public notice that we are now voting for the party president. What we saw was that at Mulungushi conference, there were more police officers than the delegates, the people that should have voted for the president of PF. We've challenged state police, we've challenged through the courts of law that state organs should not have participated in facilitating an illegality. You know, an illegality can be facilitated. You simply give instructions, and I can sit here and confirm that state organs, because it's state organs, Zambia Police is a state organ. How do you have the Zambia Police facilitating an illegality? They know these guys are having a retreat. A retreat is the three of us saying, colleagues, let's go and reflect on media laws in Zambia. Let's go and just have a retreat and discuss. Then suddenly we change the agenda. One of us should be president of PF. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Is that what Christopher Kangombe is saying? No, that is what the law prescribes, how you elect a party president. But for me, the issue is public perception. Zambians today now are aware that you don't need Christopher to explain. You just need to see the pattern. Retreat, which is supposed to be celebration for independence, 30 minutes later becomes a convention. 10 minutes later, these fake names have been taken to, which institution is this? The Registrar of Societies. The Registrar of Societies, a very noble lady, a very strong woman, decides to say, look, we can't change the details of office bearers for the Patriotic Front because the procedure was not followed. What happens next? The lady is fired. She's been fired. Fired, taken to cabinet office. I believe now she's been charged. She's facing disciplinary action. And because she's a civil servant, she can't come here and speak for herself. But it is our duty, those of us who've been following events, to highlight these aspects. So in short, indicators are there. And for me, I think that the UPND should focus more on the issues that affect you and I and many other members of the public. Issues to do with the exchange rate, issues to do with the right supply of meal, issues to do with public infrastructure, ensuring that we achieve much with empowerment, reviewing the Constituency Development Fund laws. Those are things that should occupy government at time. Unfortunately for our colleagues, they are so occupied with how do we deal with the biggest opposition political party. We reduce their numbers in parliament so that we have lesser voices. Only yesterday I was debating the Access to Information Bill. Others may not want to debate it because they don't understand the role of checks and balances. For some of us, we want to be on record that we contributed in our 5 years in parliament to better laws and better governance.
You've spoken about the Access to Information Bill.
Yes.
You are debating in Parliament. You raised a couple of issues pertaining to Section 2, where there's some sort of restriction in terms of information that can be given to a person that wants that information. Also, Section 33, where if a person appeals, then they're supposed to be given response in 7 days.
Yes.
But when that process is supposed to be done is not clear. The other one also was the aspect of Section 37, where the whistleblower who's giving the information maybe pertaining to corruption is not protected.
Yeah.
What is your honest take on this bill?
Well, first of all, the intention, you know, when you're coming up with a law, you want to cure something. You are telling yourself, Zambia needs this law so that when the media wants to query, because you see, the Access to Information Bill or Act, which it eventually become an act, is not a law for the politicians. It's not a law for you guys who are in the media. The Access to Information Bill is a citizen law. Now, what is a citizen law? A citizen law is a piece of law that allows citizens to enjoy certain rights. It's a law that allows citizens to enjoy certain privileges. So from where I sat yesterday, hearing the minister read out what is called a policy statement, he was saying, this law will do this. If we enact this law, we are calling Parliament to support this. Then I was there reading the provisions which you've highlighted. Then I realized we are not going to achieve what we're supposed to achieve with that law. What were we supposed to achieve? We were supposed to achieve a law that would allow a citizen from Mutendere, start off from Mutendere, write a letter, even handwritten, inform the Ministry of Mines that I want to know, for instance, what is the agreement between the Zambian government through ZCCMIH and Vedanta Resources. Just that 1 or 2 sentenced page letter, handwritten, within 7 days, according to the law, that information should have been provided. But do you know what has happened? They are saying commercial transactions, procurement for Zambia Army, those things you can't query. Now, for me, I'm seated asking myself, we passed this law. Is it going to facilitate? Is it going to allow you, the media, is it going to allow ordinary members of the public to be able to enjoy the privilege of accessing information? The answer is no. Is this what I'm saying because I'm a PF member of parliament? Am I saying this because I'm an opposition MP? I'm saying this because this is what stakeholders have said and I've had time to read. And I hope that those that are tuned into this program, my appeal, if you are in civil society, speak out. Don't let the politicians be the only ones speaking, because this law is not affecting just the politicians. It's affecting the people that should help bring out matters to do with public disclosures. So for me, the period you've referred to, there's also another provision. The law is saying in section 22, the following are issues of public interest, meaning the media can ask. But you see, you go to 24, you realize that 24 is saying, no, we told you in 22 that you can have this information, but here are the exemptions. On this particular item, we allowed you in 22. In 24, we are saying, we can tell you that this and this is happening, but we won't tell you the money involved. So what I'm trying to say is that the law needs to be cleaned up. It's a good effort. You know, when you initiate a process, it's a good effort. But if you don't achieve what you're supposed to achieve in the final document, like yesterday there was voting, because UPND has the numbers, they voted, no, this is a good law, and the document, I'm sure, is going to the president for him to sign. So next few days, the access to information bill will become law. But will it achieve its objective? Let me highlight one quick aspect for the benefit of our viewers. If today I am denied information, I write to any particular ministry and I'm told, MP, we can't grant you that information. The law says go to court. Now, before you go to court, you go to the Human Rights Commission. For me, who is a parliamentarian, maybe because I'm privileged, I've got a friend who is a lawyer, I've got 2 or 3 colleagues in my network, I can afford a lawyer. Then the lawyer will file documents for me in the High Court. But what about an ordinary member of the public? What about an ordinary citizen who is not able to afford legal fees? Who's going to represent them as they demand for that information? So yesterday, my argument was that, can we compel government to provide legal representation to those individuals who are denied information? And what I'm trying to say basically is that currently we've got the legal aid department, which is an institution that provides legal representation to those who can't afford. So if it's possible, if we really want to allow people to access information, why can't we allow for those particular legal fees to be met by a department of government? I know it looks a bit strange, but that's the only way people will access information. So in short, the Access to Information Bill, which will become law, has got provisions that are in conflict, things that will not facilitate access to information. And that was my argument yesterday.
The Patriotic Front, you also had this intention of ensuring that we have the access to information.
There was actually a draft here.
Enacted into Parliament.
Yeah.
In fact, probably the entire draft should be from the PF. I don't know what the changes they have made.
No, the
PF had also made a lot of progress with the same law.
Yeah, the law was actually done because if you recall very well, the background to this document is that 2002, when the current Vice President was Minister of Information, Honorable Nalumango, Honor the Vice President, the document was presented on the floor of Parliament. It was called Freedom of Information Bill. Now, because stakeholders said, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good, the document was withdrawn. Of course, it has taken almost 19, 20 years for the document to come back to Parliament, which is not a good thing. When the Patriotic Front was in government, stakeholders meetings were held, the document was drafted. I was not a minister then, I was not an MP then, so I don't know what particular details were there. But what I do know is that if you were to call a minister to come here, because they have access to those documents, this is why we need the bill anyway. This is why we need the law, because if we have this law in place, I can actually compel Honorable Mwetu, Minister of Information, to tell him, can you make available details of what was in the initial document, which was a draft? Because a draft is a draft, meaning after you do the draft, you then ask stakeholders, is this good enough? Then the stakeholders will tell you, we feel this is not good enough. So for me, I think the issue is not how long it has taken, but what are we doing with this opportunity we have? I want to predict that the document which will be signed by the President will be subjected to further amendments. When we come back next year, me as Christopher Kangombe and many other stakeholders are proposing amendments, changes to what is being proposed, so that we can come and clean it up. It will take a bit of time, but the procedure for me will allow us to clean up the law. It's a good start, but the law will not achieve. It will not achieve. You may want to query Zambia Army. How much are you spending on this piece of military equipment? The current law does not allow you, even if you are a journalist, even if the law is in place, because that is how the law has been structured.
Well, is it not at the time now that we're supposed to be praising the current party in power?
Praising them for what?
Because they did promise that once we ushered into office,
yes,
we're going to enact this bill into law.
They should have enacted a good law. So me as Christopher Kangombe will not praise them, because they are not enacting a good law. A law, I want to repeat, Nelson, a law such as this one, you've waited all this time, the excitement, everyone is saying, finally. Now the question is, what is that finally? You go through the law is telling you, this you can't do, this information is privileged information, this you can't ask. Then I come here to start saying, UPND has done a good job. No, UPND needs to clean up that law. It's a good effort, because the document is on the floor of the House. Can we just identify 3, 4, 5, 6 provisions? We clean this up. I think then we have a good document. Then all of us will come here and say, Zambia needs this good document, and now it's in place.
Well, our dear viewers, in case you are just joining us in conversation, we have Christopher Kangombe, who is a Kamfisa constituency member of Parliament, and we are discussing current affairs and various governance issues, also pertaining to matters on the intra-party wrangles involving the PF. In case you want to also join the conversation, you are free to do so and leave us that message also on our Facebook page. Remember that we do stream live. You can equally give us your comments and contribution, and also on our YouTube channel, you are free to engage us. And also remember that you can also watch Camnet TV on Limex World TV application. You just go to your phone and download it via Play Store, and you'll be able to watch Camnet TV wherever you may be in this world. Now, moving on the program, Honorable, I would also want to get your perspective. Many have been of the considered view that elections are not, or let's say, political matters are not better solved before the courts of law, given the history that shows us that our courts work at snail's pace, and that also undermines the party's ability to mobilize or undertake various activities while the election time is fast approaching. We're just, for example, we're just talking about 2 years before 2026. And if you are going to have a candidate, people should be knowing this candidate should be greeting people.
Now we are in court.
And now you are in court. We saw other political parties that went the same route. Today, as we talk about, NDC was a potential big political party in this country, but now it has 2 factions, and they are nowhere near the heavyweights.
And the worries PF for moving the same direction.
Yes, and PF now we have the Edgar Lungu led PF and the Mao Samba led PF, and that's a recipe for confusion.
Yeah. So, solving political problems in court. Dialogue, is it possible? Is there another avenue? Unfortunately, the Zambia court system, the judicial system, is such that conflicts are resolved through the court process, okay? And this is the problem we have. So in Zambia, we don't have a law that regulates political party. If you asked me today, even the registrar of societies, she's not supposed to be handling political party affairs. She's supposed to be managing clubs. Clubs, these who are looking for empowerment funds, these who are looking for CDF, those should be regulated under the office of the Chief of Registrar of Societies. Over the years, we've allowed the Registrar of Societies to manage the regulation of political parties. What we need in Zambia is a law that prescribes the manner in which a political party is registered, the manner in which a political party is deregistered, how conflicts in political parties should be handled. We need that law. And I'm hoping that as we come back into Parliament next year during the legislative session, one of the things I want to advocate for is a draft document, a document that will prescribe how political parties will be managed and regulated. Currently, there's no procedure. And that is why when there's a conflict on who should be president for a political party, the first thing people do is file an injunction. Ask the courts of law to grant reliefs, and then the courts will determine. It may take time, like you've put it, very, very unfortunate, because the High Court procedure is not timed. It can take 3 years. By the time the 3 years is elapsing, elections would have passed, confusion would have ensued. So I want to first of all agree with you that the courts of law may appear not to be the correct platform to resolve political party conflicts. But what do you do when the state is sponsoring confusion? You have to quickly get relief from somewhere. Who gives you the relief? Do we give ourselves the relief, or we ask the courts of law to give us the reliefs? It's shocking, and I don't want to be cited for contempt, but it's shocking that an injunction can't be granted, because an injunction simply means both parties, can you wait? Can we then determine the main issue, and then we'll tell you who the rightful president of a political party is. But I'm shocked that up to now, a relief such as an interim injunction has not been granted, to allow now for the courts to determine who the president and the rest of the party leadership for the PF is correctly. But all this is because there's a problem in our economy. We would not have had this confusion if the UPND had performed correctly. If today the exchange rate was, let's say, 15 kwacha against the dollar, if today the price of millimil was affordable, I don't think that the UPND would have spent so much time, resources, time and money they've spent trying to sponsor confusion in the Patriotic Front, because then the fundamentals would have shown that they are doing very well. And time allowing, if you allow me, we can also discuss issues to do with the economy of our country, because the rate at which we are moving, I know people are as disappointed as many others, but they can't admit it. You know, when you vote for a political party with very high hopes, these are economic managers, and then suddenly the economic managers are not doing as they should have been doing, then suddenly you get worried. Now, people can't admit, but I'll tell you for a fact, the majority of people who voted for our colleagues are disappointed that in the area of economic management, the performance of the UPND has not been impressive. Is it? Am I saying this because I'm PF? No, I'm saying this because it's a fact. The fact is, the indicators are showing reserves, dollar reserves. The Bank of Zambia manager has confirmed that we do not have enough dollars to cushion the exchange rate. Number two, the price of commodities. Is it me who's saying? Central Statistical Office has confirmed. The state of other fundamentals in the economy, policy monetary rate, statutory reserve ratio. Now they've even changed the manner in which government bonds are managed. These are things that it's not me saying, these are the indicators. Could they have done better? Yes, they should have done better. So these are the things that are allowing them now to sit the way we are seated and saying, how do we deal with PF, because it's the only main opposition political party. So for me...
But the argument has been that in the past 7 years you were in power. You're the ones that left the mess. And what we're trying to do as...
Which mess?
What we're trying to do as government in power is to clean up the mess that you left.
Now, let me ask you, Nelson. you take over a government, the price of fuel is 17 kwacha. Then 2.5 years down the line, the price of fuel is 30 kwacha. Which price is better? It's the 17. So when they say we are sorting out the mess, if 17 kwacha is a mess, we should be talking about 12 kwacha per liter of fuel. If the price of millimil was 120 kwacha or 150 kwacha when they took over government, and the price now is 320, if 120 is a mess, it means that the price should be going to 100. So for me, I want this conversation to be in the context of indicators. The excuse, no, we're sorting out the mess, PF over borrowed. Okay, we borrowed money for infrastructure. Has UPND borrowed in the last 2.5 years? I sit in Parliament. Every financial year, they come with a document called Annual Borrowing Plan. Now, what is an annual borrowing plan? An annual borrowing plan simply tells you what government wants to borrow. So, have they stopped borrowing? The answer is no. They've also continued borrowing. Are they able to show 3-4 things where the money that they've borrowed has been utilized? The answer is no. So for me, I want our colleagues to be magnanimous. To be magnanimous is to be able to say, we assume the responsibility, we were not equal to the task we thought we were, but we realized that the challenge is beyond us. We are not ready to continue serving the public, because you can't have a government looking for excuses. They should get down to work, sort out the challenges in the economy, look at the exchange rate, deal with issues that people have been discussing. I don't need to sit here for people to discuss issues to do with the exchange rate.
At some point, you are aspiring to be PF president.
Yes.
Now, you've said currently the economic indicators under the current government are not in good terms.
Yeah.
What should be the solutions then?
Well, first of all, I'll start with the challenge of the exchange rate. One of the reasons why Bank of Zambia has run out of dollars, because what they've been doing in the last 2 years is basically to offload dollars. You go to any commercial bank, you find the dollars there so that the demand is minimized. Now, they've run out of dollars. Now, what is the solution? The solution lies in the correct taxation in the mining sector, because it's only the mining sector that will give you the dollars. It's only tax on FQM that will give you the dollars. It's only tax on Kalumbila mine that will give you the dollars. It's only tax on all these mining companies that will give you the dollars. The dollars in circulation are not adequate. What does government need to do? Come back to Parliament, ask that we amend the mineral royalty tax deduction formula, amend the income tax. There are these laws that relate to taxation. The minister can come back to Parliament and say, dear colleagues, after we took over government, we changed this and this piece of legislation on taxation. We're not getting enough dollars from the mining sector. We want to reverse. We want to go back to what we found under the Patriotic Front. They will lose nothing because the money will start flowing in. The mining sector will complain, but you know that it is not taxation that will allow them to stay or leave. It is the demand for the copper. It is the price of copper that will attract them to invest in the sector. So that is step number one. Step number two, you are aware that the price of fuel is 30 kwacha a liter. In that 30 kwacha, there are two things that have been included. Number one, there's VAT in the 30 kwacha, and there's excise duty in the 30 kwacha. Remove excise duty, remove VAT, 30 kwacha comes down. Remove any other extra expenses you've added, just to give people a relief, even of 6 months. So for me, there are things that our colleagues should come to us and say, colleagues, we found you didn't apply tax on fuel. We found that mining companies were paying so much in taxation. Support us, we want to go back to the old system. There's nothing wrong, they'll lose nothing. They'll still be looked at as a government that recognizes the errors they made, and then the country will make progress. I know it's a long conversation, but I know, for instance, that when they took over in 2021, there was a huge amount of maize that they found in the sheds. We challenged the Minister of Agriculture. Why are you exporting maize into Congo when you know that very soon we might have a challenge of a shortage? True to our word, we've had a shortage. So for me, I think that these are public issues. These are not PFU-PND issues. These are issues that the public have highlighted in the context of decision making.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, you are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show interview, and we have in studio Honorable Christopher Kangombe, the Kamfisa constituency lawmaker. And we have some few comments on our Facebook page, and some of them coming from our colleagues who are suggesting that on a good submission there, Honorable, and that's from one of our Facebook viewers, and many of them are actually agreeing with you. And we are going to, for now, we are going to ask that in case you have a question, you give us that call, and we get interacting in studio right about now. And Honorable, the other question, first of all, is alternatively, do you think people will still have faith in the PF, given that you still remain as the major opposition political party, and you equally did not perform well economically, to say the truth, and your critics also who are in government, they also say they're economic managers, and
that's what they claim they were.
Where they are at the moment. But where should Zambians draw their hope? And as you as PF, first of all, you had assured the people that you are rebranding, and people did not see the rebranding taking place, because you did not even go to the people to say, this is how we want to regroup as a party, and this is how we want to do politics, or even send. I think we have a call. You are through to the problem.
We need credible leaders like Kangombe. Yeah, people who can understand and articulate issues. The problem we are having in Zambia is just let the people just go and shout, yeah, in parliament. You know, we need material, young leaders who can articulate, understand, and lead this nation to the higher levels, rather than just choosing just because there's a vocal in a political party. No. Mr. Kangombe, we are behind you, and Mr. Zulu from Ndola. Please continue to move this nation to higher levels. Zambia belongs to Zambians, not to a certain political party. You know, the politicians need to have we need politicians who have the heart for this nation, Zambia, to have law. We are contributing, though we are on the low level. In like sweet potato producers, I do produce candle, here fish abantu abalanda, those who fail to buy bread, even those who do afford it, they do enjoy sweet potato, but how can they help us to move to another level, such that it can because in Salana, fire abantu muchalo. You know, I will say that we have three levels of people: the elite, the middle, and the lower. Our banshee, I'm telling you, Muri Sana, but you claim it to a papa. I'm not partisan. I'm a credit for that matter, but we do mingle with all different levels of people, and it will follow fair over to our banshee, how they are suffering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zuri. It's good that you did join midway and you managed to introduce yourself. I was wondering, who is you?
You asked me two questions, or is it one?
Yeah, they were married. They were
the economy and the rebranding.
Yes, and how people who should believe.
Well, I like giving examples because maybe that's the only way I can illustrate. In America, the two main political parties are the Republicans and the Democrats. Yes. So if the Democrats today lost, when Senator John McCain lost to Barack Obama, the Democrats won. I did not hear, I don't remember hearing that suddenly all the Republicans now have moved, they've now become Democrats. No. When the Democrats lost, when Donald Trump won, again I did not hear that all the Democrats, because they've lost power, suddenly they have become Republicans. What I'm trying to say is that in a country where you choose democracy, where you say, colleagues, we are going to compete, it's the ideas that should come on the table. If 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the ideas were not solid, my commitment, and I've said this to my colleagues, even within the Patriotic Front, that do you know what will give us the edge as PF in 2026? Number one, we have a manifesto, but we need to package our manifesto to a level where we make people understand the intention, and the action plan, because every political party has got plans. Everyone says, when we are elected, we will do this, the Kwacha, ABCD, but then confirm with the public the plan. And that is why I'm saying PF is PF, UPND is UPND, another political party is another political party. The idea that because we lost elections, we should go and hide in the corner and say, no, we did not do a good job. Every political party has got phases. Even the current ruling party, if they are able to reflect on the actions they are taking, democracy, economic management, issues to do with public infrastructure, if they are able to read what the people are saying, the allegations on the Lusaka and Ndola dual carriageway, you announce to the public that this is a private-public partnership project. Then suddenly you go back to NAPSA. Meanwhile, a PPP project simply means you don't have money as government. And then you're saying, let's bring in private money. That is a PPP project. Then suddenly we are told, no, the people who've been given the concession have been told that go to NAPSA and borrow money. Then it's not a PPP. Now, if people query that, all that the government should do is to simply say, citizens are not happy with this decision. Let's reverse it. Let's allow NAPSA to fund the project. Let this be a NAPSA project. Let all the money for toll fees go back to NAPSA. That should have been the case. Now, if I say that today, someone should not look at me and say, you people were once in government, so why are you saying that? No, we are raising an issue, and we are Patriotic Front. They are UPND. There's another political party. That's democracy. They are Republicans in America, and they are Democrats in America.
Yes, now that you mentioned the example of Republicans and Democrats,
yes.
These two would always gather around the table and say, while you are suggesting that policy, as we feel we have a better
alternative
policy
ideas.
Yes, we feel we have a better policy than you, and that's the reason why people should vote for us. Then they debate around that, and everyone justifies their policy.
Yeah.
You see, let's say you are saying, we have, the UPND is saying they have free education, for example. The PF comes and say, we have free education at tertiary level and not at primary level. Then the people make a decision. But again, in Zambia, you two, the UPND and the PF, have been described in the past as Siamese twins. In that most of you are equally capitalist. So most of the policies are not that different, because if these songs Zambians are singing now that let Zambians take over the running of the national affairs, prioritize Zambians,
and the mines.
This conversation was there still under PF.
Yeah.
To say, PF, please prioritize Zambians, and Zambians are still telling the UPND to say,
do the same.
Prioritize Zambians. So what really happens when you are in opposition? Do you manage to find the better ways that would be appealing to the people? And when you are there, you say, we are here.
Everything is okay.
Everything is okay.
I don't know, I can't speak for you, PND.
Everything is
Let me first say this. Let me say this very quickly. I know we are running out of time. What I thought would be happening at Parliament, when I was campaigning, I was first the mayor of Kitwe. I said, okay, I need to go to Parliament. I had this view, I had this understanding, this perception that at Parliament, political parties from two different wings, they'll sit and agree, let's come up with this law, what are your concerns as PF, what are the concerns of the independents. I thought that is how Parliament works, but when I came to Parliament, I arrived at Parliament, I found that there's what is called a whipping system. Now a whipping system, the way it's just whipping, it's like they're telling you, do this. So UPND has got a whip, a government whip, who tells all the UPND MPs, anything that comes from PF. I know Christopher Kangombe has come up with a very good motion. He's got this motion, this other motion. Because he's PF, guys, we are not supporting, because if we support that idea, people will think that Christopher Kangombe is a very good MP. So you have colleagues who are from UPND telling you, boy, we're going to support you, but you see, we've been told that we shouldn't support you. Actually, by 10 hours, the agreement was that you've come up with a very good motion. So now 14 hours we start debating, Mdala, we can't support you. Because they've been whipped, they've been instructed. The whipping system in Parliament, as much as we've adopted the Commonwealth structure, sometimes it denies Zambia the right ideas. Sometimes you have two political parties who should be agreeing before they go into Parliament, agree, this is a good proposal, let's adopt it, let's support it. But unfortunately, we found a system. This system has to change. I don't know how, but maybe we need to see different political parties, the independents who are 13, PF who are 58, and 82 UPND. We should be able to sit down and say, colleagues, on this particular issue, I think let's move in this direction. On the PPP project, as opposed to asking the private sector to go and borrow money from NAPSA, why not just give NAPSA to construct the dual carriageway so that all the money for the toll fees go back to NAPSA? So unfortunately, it's the environment we've found where political parties do not speak on one particular issue when they are going into parliament.
Let's just read out some of the messages that are on our Facebook page. We have Nonde Chituma, who says important lessons there. We have Moses Musonda. We are being educated. Excellent leadership here. Kingsley Majila from the sweetest town of Mazabuka says, guys, we are together from Mazabuka, the sweetest town. Guys, keep it up. Bless you all. Then we also have Stanley Mubasa. Great submission by Honorable Christopher Kangombe there. Then we also have Patrick Mulenga, who says, good job. Let's take this last call. You are through to the program. Good morning. Hello?
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Well,
seems we have lost that call. But so as we wind up, Honorable, you have to sum it up for us.
Yes. You wanted to say something.
Yes, you should sum it up for us. But also, another aspect I would like to get from you is, for some time, Zambia has not been producing fuel. But is there a local solution?
Well, the challenge with that commodity is that we've done mineral exploration, and I think it has continued in the 2024 national budget. There's money that has been allocated under the Ministry of Mines for exploration to try and establish if Angola at the border has got oil. Is it possible that Zambia has no section of northwestern province or western where there might be oil? So it's basically heightened exploration that would tell us if we've got the reserves or not. Unfortunately, Nelson, it's difficult when you don't produce a commodity to be able to have it at the lowest cost, to have it at the lowest price. But you must attempt to avoid certain expenses as you do the price build-up. If you go to the Energy Regulation Board, if you invited anyone from ERB to come and sit here to explain how they calculate the price of fuel, there are things that government has control over, but the actual cost from the producer, unfortunately, we have no control over. Is it possible that government can do away with those expenses such as taxes? Yes, it's possible. Is it possible that 30 kwacha can go back to 10 kwacha? It's not possible. What could be the lowest cost of fuel? Maybe we can do 17 where our colleagues found it. Maybe it's possible we can do that particular pricing.
Your concluding remarks?
Well, my concluding remarks are that one, the benchmark for good leadership is good leadership. You don't benchmark yourself against something and say, as when PF was in power, they used to do this. No, you're benchmarking against PF, benchmark against good governance. You don't benchmark yourself against, you look at what is good governance, what are the good things that people aspire to see, so that you inspire people to have confidence in leaders. Otherwise, we'll see a situation where people will start saying, I won't even go and vote. Why should I vote when the economic managers can't manage our economy? So thank you for this opportunity to appear on this program. My message to the public is that the benchmark for good leadership is actually good leadership.
Thank you very much, Honorable. This is where we have to call it a day, and let me also sum it up with the last 3 messages that we have just received from Remy Mwambanzi, who says great details there, Honorable. And we also have Katoa J.E. Fernando, who says kudos, Honorable Avesu. Then we have Rayford Banda, who says wonderful program, Honorable, be blessed, and all Camnet team. Thank you, Rayford Banda there. God bless you too. And this is where we have to call it a day on the Camnet Breakfast Show, Thursday edition, governance, policy, and politics. This has been Patrick Soko and my co-host Nelson Zulu. And in studio, we were joined by Honorable Christopher Kangombe, who is Kamfisa constituency Member of Parliament. Until next time, keep it on Camnet TV, not just another channel.